Russia's moonlander crashed into the moon. It wasn't supposed to do that. What happened and why is it so hard to land on the moon? Let's dig in. The uncrewed Luna 25 spacecraft entered orbit of the moon last week, but before the spacecraft could begin landing procedures, it encountered a technical glitch. We don't have the details, but we can infer that Luna 25 didn't properly enter a pre-landing orbit. After that, presumably it lost contact and ended up crashing uncontrollably onto the moon's surface. According to Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, a quote, "The apparatus moved into an unpredictable orbit and ceased to exist as a result of a collision with the surface of the moon." Okay, so that sucks. You never want your spacecraft to cease to exist before it even starts the science mission. Luna 25 was supposed to be the first spacecraft to land at the moon's south pole. The spacecraft did have a science mission, but one of its primary purposes was simply to show that Russia still had the ability to land on the moon. They haven't done it since 1976. Unfortunately, that part of it failed. It's not clear if part of that failure was due to a space race. They were rushing a bit to beat the Indians to the moon. India launched its uncrewed Chandrayaan-3 lander, and they're scheduled to attempt to land it on August 23rd. But there's a bigger question here. Why is landing on the moon so hard? India's Chandrayaan-2 Vikram lander failed, Israel's Beresheet lander failed, now Russia's lunar 25 lander ceased to exist? They all had different reasons: software glitches, unexpected malfunctions, communication failures. But what are the challenges that these spacecraft are facing? We've landed on the moon before, multiple times, but that does not mean it's easy. Important to note, every attempt since Apollo 17 in 1972 has been uncrewed. No crew, no astronauts on the moon since 1972. When spacecraft re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, they have just that, atmosphere. That creates a drag on the spacecraft to slow it down. The moon's atmosphere is extremely thin. That means it doesn't slow spacecraft down in any meaningful way, which means that these spacecraft have to use wild amounts of propellant in order to slow down and not crash. Communication is also a huge issue. Around the Earth, we have so many communications satellites and ground stations. It ensures that there aren't any unnavigable communications blackouts. Sure, during the stress of re-entry, we'll lose communication, but by then the course is pretty much set. When it comes to the moon, we don't have that kind of infrastructure. We also don't have the precision of GPS on the moon. It's a failure of information as much as anything else. When you just don't have the data or the ability to communicate and you're dealing with an uncrewed lander without somebody aboard to actually compensate for problems as they come up mid-flight, you're gonna fail as often, or maybe more often, than you succeed. While Russia's Luna 25 spacecraft failed, the good news is India's Chandrayaan-3 is going to attempt a landing on August 23rd. Let's cross our fingers that this one goes more smoothly.